All right, good morning. I appreciate everybody being here. Before we get into some of the news of the day, I wanted to introduce David Stafford. He's on his second day, so he should be able to answer all your questions about every project we have going on. But certainly, I'll reiterate what I said at the beginning. With this, when we announced this, it's an honor to have a chance to work with David and his reputation and credibility in this community. I know all of you in the media and certainly our public are fully aware of that, and the skill set and experience and reputation that he'll bring to our office and to the city is something that will really be special and a huge benefit to our team and our citizens. So I wanted to give David the opportunity to say hello to you, and you can ask away, and he'll answer everything that he can. But David, welcome to City of Pensacola.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mayor. Morning, everybody. Not a lot to say today, other than it's great to be here. Thank you, Mayor Reeves, for the opportunity to work for the city that I love, where I was born, where I raised a family, where I've spent most of my professional life, and so I'm honored to be able to help you in your efforts to lead this city for the next few years and achieve the goals that are set out in the strategic plan, the Strive to Thrive 2035. I am a Wiley veteran now, day 2 on the job. I see one of my fellow newbies that was in the orientation meeting yesterday. I've joined 7 other folks, and we spent the better part of the day getting acclimated. And I commend the staff here for a very thorough and wonderful job. This week I've begun meeting with each of the department directors, or begun that process. So I'm getting acclimated, a lot of intake right now. But last week, actually, before I came on board, I snuck out a few times from my old job. I went to the listening session on Hollis T. Williams, the unveiling there, the Babe Bluffs, that's sort of the beginning of the process there. Sat here as an observer for the very thorough and excellent tabletop exercise that was conducted right here in this room last week. I did not go to the city council meetings, but watched the recording of the city council meetings, both the regular meeting and the special meeting. Watched the Parks and Recs board, so doing a lot of intake, getting up to speed right now, but I really look forward to, again, continuing to get acclimated and partnering with the mayor and the wonderful staff. I want to commend Amy and Cliff in the back for helping me get acclimated, and the rest of the excellent city staff here. And again, just a privilege to be able to serve the city that I love and spent most of my life. So with that, I would answer any questions or turn it back over to you, Mayor Reeves. Thank you.
You let him off easy?
We're waiting on you.
Thanks, David. All right, we'll run through a few things and then answer any questions that you may have. This Saturday, November 1st at noon, we are doing the Reverend Powell street naming ceremony. So very much looking forward to that. We'd love to have you out there. The event parking will be in that the Truth for Youth parking lot there on the north side, across from Five Sisters. So looking forward to that. A reminder that the VEO electric scooter contract ends at the end of this month, in about 3 or 4 days. Did have a conversation with some of their senior leadership and reiterated really the same thing I've told you guys. The current form isn't working for us. That does not mean that's not a personal thing to VEO. It's not. It's about if we were to look into bringing back some type of multimodal amenity. I'm certainly for that, whether that was with VEO or with someone else. But I just think it's probably time to, it's time to retire this version, and then we can see if there's something better in the works. So we certainly have left that door open with VEO or any other similar vendor. And so I have Caitlin looking into that, and there's been conversations around bicycles, which would likely need a subsidy, or even if it was going to be something that was motorized, maybe more bicycle-like than scooter-like. All of those conversations we're having internally, we're not in a big rush on that, but we are working ahead and seeing if there is some type of 2.0 multimodal experience that would be something good for the city and be able to work more harmoniously. We had our neighborhood cleanup on the 25th. This is the final cleanup of the year from Highland Terrace to East Pensacola Heights. About 33 tons collected, 312 gallons of paint, and 26 tires. A couple other things on the Palafox project. Obviously, as you guys have been reporting, that we understood and have understood for a year and a half or 2 years that there's going to be concerns and anxiety with small businesses. It wasn't that long ago that I was a small business, and we've had construction, or other things outside of our control delay or impact my business. So I certainly sympathize with that, and that has not changed in any way. That being said, we continue to do what we said we were going to do, which is make sure that we have all the facts. We've gone through the process for the ability to get it there and to be able to start in January. But as we sit here today, we haven't even had our first meeting with Site Utility, the contractor, yet. That happens this afternoon. So we have obviously a long list of questions for them in terms of process and procedure. So we will be meeting with the property owners on Palafox Street on Wednesday, and everybody, property owners, lessees, everything on Thursday. And again, that has been scheduled, the Thursday meeting, and that's what we have promised, is that we would continue to have a conversation when we have information. And so, while going back and forth in the media with specific business owners might sell newspapers, that's not what we're going to do, because we need to have all the facts. And so we're going to meet with Site Utility, we're going to meet with property owners, and we'll get a good flavor of where the project stands at that point, and I'll be able to maybe tell you more of that next week. So, but those meetings are all happening and taking place again today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Also, just a heads up, we've for the better part of about 3 years, we've been working to figure out the best route for the stormwater, the $16+ million stormwater project that is currently taking place around Joe Patti's, that Main Street and B Street. So this is a conversation, again, and a process that's preceded me. And so we've got to a point where we continue, to this day, continue to be in conversations with the Patti family, some of the property ownership, to come up with the best amicable solution to ultimately get the water out. There's been many conversations over the years that I've been in, and I would assume Mayor Robinson or his staff has been in, to try to either get an easement under some specific property or use an easement that the city has that goes across the Joe Patti's parking lot. We really haven't had an opinion one way or the other of which we would be okay with either, but we just haven't been able to get this ball moving. So obviously, so we have filed a suit, and that is not in any adversarial. Again, conversations continue with. I've talked with Frank Jr. many times the last few weeks and months, and just about coming up with either allowing us to use the easement that the city already possesses, or to come up with some alternative solution. So we're at the point in the project, a few years into this conversation, where we have to make a decision, or we're going to be putting our taxpayers in a pretty difficult spot. That stormwater project impacts about 5,000 residents in total. We've again met, communicated, we've negotiated with them. We've offered alternative routes, business protection measures, and hopefully we'll continue to find a resolution. So I'm just telling you because it's out there, it's filed, it's publicly filed. But the presumption when you hear that would be that we are adversarial towards the family or towards anybody that's trying to work on it. We have said, we have maintained for a few years that some solution needs to be considered. So because of some of the concerns of using the city's existing easement across the parking lot, we've tried to entertain every other alternative solution over these 3 years, and would continue to do so. But there are some issues in terms of family trusts and who wants to do what, and in terms of sending an easement further south that's not through the parking lot. I think we would probably all agree that that would be the best case scenario, both, I can't speak for them, but certainly for the city. And so anyway, that's out there, and our hope and goal is that we get to some resolution that works for everybody, and our conversations will continue with them, and certainly those have been positive conversations in the sense that I think we all want the same goal. We haven't been able to get the ball moving on the solution, and as you guys can see with your own eyes, construction-wise, that project is aggressively moving, and at some point the water needs to be able to go somewhere, and so we've just gotten 3 years into that point. So anyway, just wanted to give you an update on that. I'll answer any questions I can on that, and again, same with Palafox. I'll answer any questions I can. I'm not going to go back and forth and go point for point when we don't have all the information, and so our goal is to get all the information and then be sharing facts with yourselves, with the lessees, and with the property owners this week. So that was everything I have, and I'll answer anything I can. Yeah.
Lawsuit. As you said, the city has filed a lawsuit. What's the nature of the lawsuit? Is this to compel action, or is this to an eminent domain type of seizure? And what's the history of that? Is there that easement operating now? Are there utilities or outfalls or anything in that easement? And exactly where on the property that belongs to the Patti Trust, where is it located? 3 questions.
Yeah, well, and I don't know that I'll be able to answer any of them. But first of all, again, I don't want to pretend to be a lawyer, so I want to be careful about what I say. The material of the lawsuit, other than the kind of the 30,000 foot view I've given you, the easement it goes ultimately from B, and you'll see on the map, I'm sure, as you look it up, but kind of from B Street across the parking lot over to kind of where that inlet is, kind of just due south of A Street. So it goes kind of east and west across the parking lot. And so it, again, I would defer to the city attorney on, I don't want to get my language incorrect on the material pieces of the lawsuit, other than our goal here is we are at a standstill right now with a $16 million project. And again, this isn't a surprise. This is a conversation that has been happening over many months and years to get us to a solution. So, again, I'm not trying to be evasive to that. I don't want to misspeak about the terms, the exact definitions, or any granular aspects of what the lawsuit says or doesn't say. I just recommend, we're just giving you a heads up that it's been filed, and if there is specific questions you have, and we can get an answer for you from the city attorney's office, certainly we will.
So you're looking for a path to get into the bag? Sorry, John.
That's okay.
Yeah, yes, in essence, we are looking for a path to get to the bay, and we've spent many years trying to find the most amicable path. We have not tried to force anything. We've not said, well, we've known that we've had this easement across the parking lot for 3+ years, but we've been exploring every alternative solution that would be, and again, I mean, not that it can't be done. It would be obviously an inconvenience through the parking lot for a limited amount of time. But it's a business that's operating, and certainly they're going to have concerns about that. And so we have explored. I mean, I probably personally have had 15 phone calls, meetings with different members of the family, all of those types of things, and those will continue if they call today, and we can get somewhere. We believe that there's an alternative solution that, again, has several family members that are involved, where we could have an easement that just kind of goes down B Street and doesn't need to go into the parking lot. And if they called us today, that was all settled and figured out, and that would be allowed, we would certainly entertain that. But when you got pipes going in the ground 3 years in, at some point, we've got to make a decision. So that's why I want to be crystal clear. This is not because we're looking for an argument or anything like that. We've just reached that critical point where we can't really keep just talking about things and going around in circles about, you know, potential solutions. I think there are family members that are absolutely willing to do that. And then maybe there's some, like many of those scenarios where there might be, I don't know the exact number, 5, 6, 7 family members are gonna have 5 or 6 or 7 different opinions. We're not asking to take property or anything. It's clearly just an underground easement again, Brad can probably, I know our city engineer can speak much more intelligently than I could on all this. He's been around for every one of those conversations. And so we continue to be amicable for a solution. We continue to be willing to be collaborative. But the clock is ticking and we've just got to, if this isn't gonna get to finality on an alternative solution, we've got to be able to move on the one that we believe that we possess now.
Mayor, you said this issue's been going on for 3 years, and then the project's underway. I guess, why wasn't it worked out before the project began?
Well, so technically, we have an easement. So technically, if we weren't trying to be collaborative, we could have just said the easement's right here 3 years ago. The only reason there's been conversation for 3 years was looking for an even happier medium than going across the parking lot. Yeah. So again, you'd have to probably talk with Brad or the previous administration about the decision to start, but my analysis of that would be there is a path to get the water out that the city currently possesses. All we've been spending 3 years doing is trying to come up with a very amicable one, and we've just been stuck in first year waiting on things, and we aren't any closer really today. We have collaboration, and again, I don't want to in any way suggest that every family member is against it or anything like that. But we just have reached that critical point to say, okay, well then we're going to have to go the way that the city legally can get the water out, and we'll have to kind of we've exhausted our options of a conversation about going this other direction.
Is there a drop dead date for this or timeframe?
I don't know that there's a specific day other than just the work that you're seeing. I mean, at some point that water has to go somewhere, and it just sheet flowing into the bay isn't going to be, you know, a viable option.
Right.
Our last few conversations have been about every 2 weeks or so. I've been in conversations where the family was meeting, and then they were going to get this done and that, and then just those things. I'm not in those conversations. You'll have to ask them, but just haven't moved as quickly as they would like them to move, even on their side. So we remain wide open to if we've got the time to do it, and we can take an alternative solution, we absolutely will. You know, I love that place the same way we all love that place. We are trying to be at least of a detriment as possible. But we do have stormwater relief for 5,000 residents. We have, you know, for 10% of our city is going to get stormwater relief from this project. It's something that we can't sit on for another year or 2 years, given where we're at. So to your question, Jim, we have the ability to, since day one, there has been a legal ability to get the water where it needs to go. We've spent 3 years exploring even better options that are friendlier to the business and all of those things, and we just haven't made the inroads that we needed to.
And I guess wasn't this project really started like a year ago or earlier this year? I know you announced it at the press conference.
Yeah, let me get you a timeline. I mean, how these projects work, especially from a funding standpoint, are, I've certainly been well beyond a year.
Yeah.
For it to be designed and all that stuff.
Right.
I don't have the exact dates.
But I guess before you start turning dirt and this was like an issue, why wouldn't you have this in place? Because now are we facing a situation where the project is going to have to stop and then cost more money?
No, as far as I'm aware, no, because we're doing it now. So I think we're addressing what you're saying, which is we're doing this now because we will have time to help see this through, not because we've run out of time. When I say we've run out, I mean we've reached that point where that could start to become an issue if we were to continue to negotiate into a 4th year about this, is ultimately where we're at. So, no, I think if we move forward with the existing easement that the city already possesses, we should be fine. But, you know, again, that's just, you know, where we are at this point.
And then, I guess, can you speak about just the idea of the City of Pensacola suing Joe Patti's, which is a beloved icon of the city? I'm sure you didn't want to do this, obviously. I just, what
Did
do
not.
you, I guess, what would you say to people to just who are going to see that and have that impression that
Yeah.
the city's suing?
Yeah, it's a common theme lately, there's a difference between facts and optics, but, so, of course, I'm aware of that. Everybody knows, how important Joe Patti's is to our community, and certainly I can speak for this administration and the previous administration by saying, I think that's why we've spent 3 years, is for that exact reason. We spent 3 years trying to find, some other solution. We are willing to pull this back if we can find that solution, if things speed up. We are open to any type of conversation that gets us in the most harmonious place possible. We just have reached the point, to your previous question, where we have to take some action. We can't spend a fourth or a fifth year, working on, a viable solution. So, I love that place the same way we all do. This student has this is just about a easement alone. It has nothing to do with the business itself. It has nothing to do with the collaborative conversations that I have and continue to have with the family we fully support their business. And the reason we've spent 3 years is because of how much respect we have for their business and it being able to operate, and us trying to find the least painful solution to that. That's, I guess, would be my answer.
Mayor, talking about Reimagine Palafox, have you seen or read a letter from business owners that have been expressing concerns about the project? And what's
Yes.
your take on it?
Well, again, I'm not gonna go back and forth, not saying it's an unfair question. I just mean, I wanna deal in facts. And certainly as a former small business owner in our downtown, I can absolutely sympathize with the anxiety that closing a street, not the sidewalks, but just the street itself, could cause. So, being a business owner and having a reaction to that, I can fully understand. That being said, again, I think there's conversations of feelings and there's also conversations of fact. So, for example, any specific concerns over how the project is going to be constructed are premature, because that would be news to me. I have not even had the conversation with site and utility specifically. You've seen what the RFP says, but not the granular specifics about how everything would work. So that conversation has not even taken place with my office and the contractor with the winning bid. So we'll look at that. And so I totally understand their concern. And again, I would prefer that we gather all the facts. And I want to certainly give the respect to the property owners and the lessees to be able to have a conversation with those facts in hand, and not be going back and forth with fragments of facts or maybe even some misunderstood facts, going back and forth with the media.
When do you think those conversations could happen? Because we know you have those meetings this week, but moving forward past those meetings, when do you think you'll sit down with those business owners and touch base with them?
Thursday. So, we have contractor Tuesday, property owners Wednesday, lessees / property owners Thursday. The lion's share of my week is on getting us to a determining factor of where this project is going to go. So, but I don't want to meet with the lessees until we have all the facts. Or I don't want to meet with property owners until we have all the facts. And so, obviously, a very important conversation today is talking to the person who is going to potentially construct the project, and getting a lot of questions answered before we start, again, speculating what we do or don't know about the length and time of the project.
Is there any room for negotiation? I mean, this is, in all fairness, for the business owners and the operators, they're 8 months out or 8 weeks out from the project starting.
Yeah.
Is there any, I guess their concern is there any room for change in the process? Will their input matter?
Yeah, listen, we have options, and what I want to explain, and I think it's important to go back to the genesis of this. The genesis of this was there was going to be a multi-million-dollar, multi-month delay project to only put back pavement. No stormwater improvement, no safety improvement, no aesthetic improvement, nothing. Again, the asphalt stopping mid-block at Plaza Ferdinand. So that is where we started. So the conversation was, if we were gonna be closed for a certain amount of time, let's explore the options of, and then let's look at what those deltas are. And so I do remind everybody that there really isn't, I mean, I guess technically we could decide to not do the project at all, leave the utility cuts as is, but realistically, what we're really talking about is a 60-day type project and a 5-month type project. And is the delta palatable? Is the net benefit to property owners and lessees in the long game better or worse? So those types of things can be discussed. Now, there's a lot of miscommunication about the RFP process and what has been signed and all of that. Nothing has been signed. That would have to go to council. We haven't even had the meeting with the construction company at this point, so I have no ability to have something signed. Sorry, to making sure that's a refrigerator, not a fire alarm. So that is how we got there. It was as unsure as you guys asked me about it last month, and we said if the price comes in at $18 million, and we just aren't going to do the project. So yeah, so those aspects are things that we want to discuss and explore and get see what's palatable for everybody. But number one, an RFP process does not allow us to go back and say, well, then let's change this paver or do this street or anything like that. There's a lot of rules, understandably, around an RFP process. And secondly, the award of bid to the winning bidder is not a commitment or 100% guarantee that the project is going to be exactly X, Y, or Z. We now start the process of meeting with the contractor, understanding what it is, and that goes for every procurement we ever have, is that there's a winning bidder, and sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes we have to scale down the project. So, but it cannot be value engineered, because if you did that, you're either going to do the project as was bid on, or we'd have to look at a complete deviation of going back to bid and doing an FPL project, doing nothing. I mean, those types of scenarios would be in play, but they wouldn't be in play for January, for example, and that we would have to go back and take further action. So, but again, I'm trying to level set and make sure we all know, we have all the facts. We've talked to the contractor, we've talked to the property owners, and then we've talked to the lessees. So I don't see what we've shared in the media was with you guys is everything that we are committed to doing to help businesses, the bonus, the free parking, the conversations we've had in this room with those lessees since June. Everything that we shared with them in June has had no substantive change whatsoever. But we're going to make sure we've got all the facts. We'll meet with them, and then again we can circle back with you in terms of where all this conversation's going.
Mayor, I guess, how much can things change at this point? But if the idea is to have the project going in January, I mean, I assume you'd have to at least by November or December have this by a council vote, so the contractor will have time to deploy for January.
Mm-hmm.
So how much can really change, but from what they bid to what can be negotiated in a contract?
Well, again, I'm going to speak to every procurement. Every procurement, if you procure it and you say this is the base bid, then that is. So when you say how much can things change, I guess I'd need better definition of what things are. Meaning, if it's value engineered aspects of the physical project, obviously those can't change substantively because of our procurement process. That's why we spent a year, going through all that. That's why we value engineered different aspects of during the design process and had those conversations. So
But you're saying you want to have talks with the company and see what the actual facts are. I guess what facts don't we have right now?
Well, right now we all talk, including me, in a term of, hey, it's going to be 5 months and it's going to start on January 3rd. What's going to start on January 3rd? Does the fencing go up on the 10th? Does it go up on the 17th? Do you start? So there's always been these very high level conversations about rip the Band-Aid approach versus two-phase. That's one conversation. But within the rip the Band-Aid approach, how will the granular aspects of that work, right? So when do you literally start? How long do you literally stay on this block? Could there be some geared down version that once you finish that block, yes, it's a construction site, but or what can take place at what time? Noise and dust type of issues taking place X, not noise and dust issues taking place Y. Those are the things that we're talking about. We're not talking about necessarily value engineering the entire project, but right now we all talk in a big, wide generality about a rip the Band-Aid approach, and no business owner nor no mayor has all of the details on exactly what is in the head of the winning bidder in terms of how that would play out. So that would be an example of the type of, again, we have a laundry list of questions, but it's those types of things. So when I do meet with property owners or when we meet with business owners, we have facts to discuss and it not just start with speculation on how long something will take or how disturbing it will be. So it's just getting into the weeds with the contractor and all of that.
Mayor, following up real quick on this timeline, are you prepared to continue if this thing gets into the middle of the winter before you have all the boxes checked? I mean, are you prepared to delay this thing, or are you think your timeline, the milestones, are reliable enough that you can assure the business owners?
Well, that's a perfect question. I mean, in other words, I couldn't answer that for you until I looked the contractor in the eye and they explained to me exactly how they see this thing going. And so that's why I say any assumptions about the literal detailed steps of what this project will look like are premature because we haven't even had that conversation with the contractor yet. So yes, we've talked about the winning bid being that rip the Band-Aid format, but I couldn't answer that. It would be speculative for me to answer and say, well, I have concerns or don't have concerns. I might have big concerns after the meeting, or I might not have none. I don't know yet until I hear from them, from their mouths directly, how they see this project playing out. And I think that's a benefit to all of us, isn't it? I mean, I would think the business owners need to know that specifically. I think the property owners would need to know that specifically. Certainly the city's gonna need to know that because we're gonna be accountable to those results. And to add one thing, I will say, any conversation that we aren't looking for ways to help bridge the gap or facilitate businesses, and that I've spent all last week, all this weekend, talking with many property owners that are very much for the project, some that are against the project. So we spent a lot of time on this, and again, I want to give the respect to the property owners and the business owners of sharing that information with them directly and not necessarily through the media. But what I can generally tell you right now is we've had many conversations over the last, for months, we had dating back to the summer, how can we bridge the gap? How can what can the city do to make this as harmonious as possible? So those conversations have been going since June, and they've been going this weekend, looking at every possible thing that we can do within reason to help bridge the gap. And so any suggestion or assumption that we are not paying attention to or not giving any credence to how we can help the business owners, I can't promise that every business owner will agree with what that final result is. I could never do that. But I can 100% tell you this staff in my office has been working overtime trying to figure out the most harmonious way to help these great small businesses that we have in our city. So that's what I can tell you right now. But again, some of those details, happy to share with you. I would prefer to have these conversations directly with the property owners and business owners first and not go do it back and forth.
You think the DIB has been a net benefit in setting the public conditions for success on this project?
Well, what I can say so far, listen, I think having a DIB is important if it brings value to those downtown business owners to have a shared voice and an aligned voice. I think that's always a good thing for any project. Walker, I was in conversations with Walker this weekend about some of the things that we're discussing and some of the options that we're looking at to help small businesses. We've charged the DIB really for the last several months. We've charged the DIB with coming up with, if you recall, there's a document out there of saying, hey, you go get feedback from all the, help us. Downtown Improvement Board, why don't you help us consolidate all the feedback from the business owners, what they would want to see? What are some of those ideas? And we've already have incorporated some of those ideas, like parking, like a bonus to finish, much quicker. So we've already incorporated some of the feedback that has been given in the previous several months. I think and I think moving forward, whatever the project is, if it's the FPL project, if it's the full project, doesn't really matter. There's going to be inconvenience. Either way, there's going to be some level of inconvenience, right? And so we would be working, and we've already had conversations with the PR team for DIB about how we would be sharing messaging with construction. There's $100,000 in soft cost that's already in the bid for the city to be doing PR and public relations, as well as the bonus itself. So, I think it's helpful to have an aligned vision, and I think that's probably a more efficient way to handle it versus individual business owners going to individual staff members or the contractor. That could probably be a little too disorganized. So we certainly lean on DIB with many of those things, and obviously I think as big a project as this potentially could be, we would continue to do so.
Mayor, just on the different bids for the project, I think it was Green Simmons, they had a higher base bid, but their alternate for phasing was less than their base bid. It was still more than site utility, but only by like $500,000. I guess, could you just explain kind of when you saw that, did you look at that as far as like maybe weighing the phased approach, even though it was still more than the base bid, like just kind of?
Yeah, well, there's real factors on the city side that aren't in the bid. So what I mean is, how long will what was the deadline going to be on the phased approach?
It's like January 27th.
Right. So it's about a year long. Now remember, there's costs that we have, not just parking revenue costs, not just it's closing the roads for that long, traffic redirection for that long. So there are significant resources that would change that aren't in the bid at all, that would change for if the project went 11 months or 12 months instead of 5. And so, and certainly understand, and again, I know there's several opinions that I can tell you the meeting in June, certainly the overwhelming feeling of the folks that were in here was the single phase approach, and I think that's generally the conversations I'm having. That doesn't mean, I don't think there's going to be anything that everybody's going to agree on in any project in the city, right? So, that was the overwhelming approach because, and I think at that time, I'm not speculating how feelings have changed now, but I can speak to that meeting back in the summer with everybody. The general feeling is, who wants to go second? Who wants to be the summer construction versus the January construction? And we haven't had any volunteers yet. So, and that's a difficult thing. And then also presuming that just because construction is not happening in front of my business, but it's happening a block away, doesn't make you scot-free either. So those were the factors. Is there's significant city cost on top of a higher price bid that to keep in mind. And secondly, I can tell you that the feeling has been, when we had this conversation, when we were at 100% design, the general feeling was, overwhelming in here, and that's the best way we could do it, is get everybody in here at once, and that was the feeling so at that time. So if those opinions have changed, and again, I don't discount that in any way. The anxiety of any closure for a small business is impactful. There's no doubt about it, and I sympathize with that. We are not doing this project so we can be an inconvenience. We're doing this project for safety improvements, for ADA improvements, for stormwater improvements, and to think outside the box instead of just putting blacktop over utility cuts and being closed 3 months, coming up with something that could be a big net benefit in the long game. And I know we're mired in, understandably, in the anxiety of what a closure would look like, but there is the light of an $11 million safety ADA stormwater improvement that's happening here as well. It's not, we're not just closing the road to, dig a ditch and fill it back and be back where we were. I mean, it is a net improvement for our citizens, our visitors, our residents as well. So the genesis of this 2 years ago was under the premise of that we were gonna already have to be closed anyway. What does the delta look like? And that's the conversation. We're getting near the end of that road, but that's the conversation that we're having right now, is to say, what does the delta look like, and is that palatable to everybody? And so we have not signed anything with anyone. We're having our first conversation with the winning bidder, and we'll see where that goes, and we'll see how our conversations go with all of the direct business owners involved.
Here, I want to get back to Joe Patti
Yeah.
real quick. So you're in the work, what they say is you're in the final mile part of this thing. You've asked the court to compel action so that you can obtain use of that easement, which then ends in an outfall on the bay, right? So does the city have, I mean, that's complicated. The city have all of their DEP permits, their Corps of Engineer permits to construct an outfall, the volume of stormwater that you're gonna, is that all done so that all that remains is to obtain use of the easement and then you're in business? Or-
Yeah, that sounds like a Brad High Note question.
I'm sure it is.
But here's what I can tell you, it's at my desk for a reason. I mean, that's what I can tell you right now. It's at my desk at this time for a reason. Now, it's been on my desk since I've been mayor, but we've just tried to work through it. But we've reached that point of doing not what we want to do, but we've reached the point where we aren't making enough progress. And I certainly hope that we can come to an amicable solution that doesn't require any or all of this to have to play out. If we can, if this is a motivating factor to get us, moving quicker, and that's what the net result ends up being, great. I think we continue to be open to a harmonious solution, and we appreciate everything that the family has done. We just, and by the way, they have certainly known this. I mean, they've been made aware of this. They've known that, hey, we'll go down yet another one of these, solutions, but at some point, we're gonna have to go use the easement that we have, and so, again, obviously unfortunate that we've gotten to this place so far, but we remain wide open to working with the family to with the best possible solution for everyone. Anything else?
Mayor, on the city council meeting last week with the delay on the Baptist properties, how does that affect, if at all, the schedule for getting Baptist started, the demolition started by the end of the year? Because I know you have a delta, does that have to be worked out before the project?
Well, the delta has to be worked out either way. So I guess to answer your question directly, none, so it'll have no delay because, as was pointed out in the council meeting, they're gonna have to, we weren't gonna turn around, make a decision on 3 properties and do that in 2 weeks, right? So we knew there's gonna be an ask for the delta. My point was, we wouldn't even be talking about these properties if there wasn't a delta. And to me, I think our approach was prudent in the sense that, number one, be it donation, sale, or anything else, those properties would have to go back to council. All this merely does was we could have started the clock concurrently versus, so for example, if I come back now, they made it a date certain in December, I can have conversations with a healthcare provider about donating a building, for example, which I've already done. Well, we can have that conversation, and then we're gonna get to the meeting in December, and we're gonna wait another 30 days. And so I would totally understand if they felt like that those would not come back to them, or that would be the last time they see it. That has never been our intent. This is a team conversation between city council and the mayor's office. All of this is. I mean, for me and the next mayor and the next councils and everybody else, this is gonna be a long game teamwork effort to make Baptist successful, period. What we're talking about is a fragment of nothing to do with the original project, and to just give us the ultimate versatility. And I think this is not the first time that I believe there's confusion around the word disposition. This has happened now a few times, and I think there might be different perceptions on council than in our office about what that means. So whether it be the motor lodge, whether it be this project, it allows us the versatility to go make a decision of which the city council will get full opportunity to approve or not approve. But if this were, let's say that was voted down and there wasn't a date certain, I guess to your question, I don't know what the conversation would be. I mean, meaning, how can I go have a conversation with someone about bringing healthcare or about anything else if it doesn't look like, that the city council wants to not do anything with the properties and then just have them sit there, then that would become a little bit more difficult.
And when you're talking about conversation, the council would have to vote for you to actually begin like real negotiations over like terms of an offer or that type of thing. Like, I assume you can have like high level conversations with people about that, but to actually like start negotiating terms, I mean, I guess you could still do it, but there'd be no point if you didn't have the legal authorization.
Well, right, it's that classic chicken egg scenario with a strong mayor form of government. On one hand, how operational does the council want to get? And I said that during the meeting, if there's a council member or members that want to do the selection and have the meetings and do all that and make decisions, I mean, that's a conversation I can have with those council members, and certainly I'm open to that. And then on the flip side, their concern, understandably, is, hey, we want to know what the general direction is. So to take it out of legal government balance of power in government terms and put it in real terms, here's my intent. My intent is to get the best possible options for those three buildings and for us to have a conversation together about if that's the direction we want to go. So if we sell one and we donate two, we donate three, if we sell three, my hope is to cobble together what we believe would be the best option and us have a conversation. I would not intend to not listen to any feedback from the council members or them not be involved in any part of the process. In real terms, I believe the decision about all three properties kind of go together. They don't, and so testing the water with what they want, and we've had many conversations over that with Councilman Wiggins and others. It's totally fine. We're on board with that. I want us all to feel good about the direction we go with those three, and I'm wide open to any suggestions that they want to donate them all. You want to keep one, you want to sell one. I'm certainly proud of our team that we took a $1.6 million delta and ended up with three more properties. I think there's confusion about the right of first refusal to buy a property 20 years from now at market rate is worth a fraction of owning the properties outright for nothing. And so that's a very distinct difference. And so for us, I'm certainly proud of our team and the fact that we ended up, and appreciative of Baptist, that what did we end up with when we had a delta? We ended up with three properties to help close that delta, one way or another. And if we prioritize community healthcare being involved, if we prioritize whatever the case may be as a team, and we decide that that's more important than the dollars to sell it, I'm totally on board with that. So I don't come in with any preconceived notion or plan at this point. My goal was to help start to ignite conversation about it, to say, all right, well, let's get them out there. Let's let people know what's going on. And we don't have to entertain one sale of any of the property if we didn't want to.
When does the actual, I know you've selected the contractor, but when does the actual contract have to go to vote for city council? Like, what's the timeline of that? Where would you have to close, and would you have to close the delta, the shortfall by the time the council approves the actual contract for demolition?
No, let me be clear. We knew that there was no timeline of which we would be able to transact those properties and then that be the funding that would close the delta because of the time frame. I mean, symbolically, it means we would have to take, I'm going to use this as an example. This is a city council decision, but I would assume we're going to propose using additional West Side CRA money to close the delta. But that can be backfilled by the potential sale of the property. So when I say that, I'm not saying literally my plan was to sell the property in 2 weeks and then have those literal dollars I mean, think about it. If you were gonna buy one of those properties, you'd want a 90-day due diligence. I mean, anybody who's gonna buy a 10,000 square foot older commercial property is gonna need time to look at it. So, I mean, there's no world that we've ever suggested nor expected to say, oh, let's have the money in our pocket before it goes to council. We got too many other things moving. We've got, obviously, demolition we want to start in December. So all of that would happen. When I say it was to help close the delta, I mean, it would help us generate revenue that we didn't otherwise have coming in if we were to decide to sell one, two, or all three of those properties. And so does that make sense? It's kind of backfilling that delta that we would need to fill with different dollars today.
So does that mean the contract is gonna have to go to city council in November if you want to begin?
Yeah, I mean, I think the intent right now is for, absolutely, yeah, for us to close the delta, and that's why I said that in the council meeting. If what we're saying here is that we've got an approval to close the delta with whatever dollars that you'd like, we can have any conversation you want about keeping, holding, selling, donating, anything you want. And I look forward to their feedback. This is not something that I, again, have any conviction about what order that is. All we were merely trying to do is to help the process move forward a little bit quicker. That we were unsuccessful in that, and so now that really means for me is if I have a conversation about donating a property, then we can just add 30 days to whatever date. If it ends up being December that they discuss it, then that means we can't. We'll have another 30-day wait. So hopefully I can bring them something in December. That it just means we'll have a little more red tape to kind of sit through to get that going. Anything else? All right, thanks guys.